This is Morning Perfect Face. The irony is that I am the first guy to say, hey, you're just trying too hard to make it perfect, man. Just perfect is the enemy of good. Just do it. And I will be honest, for the past fucking 3 months, admittedly, I've had some things going on in my personal life where I've been a little busy. I've been trying to catch up on the beige and the bold. You can see the frame rate here. My computer's not doing so great. So hypothetically, if there was a time in the future where I was replacing my computer and it was down for a long time, that would also prevent me from making videos. So, but a lot of it is Picard. Well, Star Trek. I mean, is it not always Star Trek, right? I feel like it's the Monarch, where the Monarch is always going after Dr. Venture. And you're just like, dude, give it a fucking break. Don't be insane. Okay, so my mission for today is kind of thinking maybe I can start working on the outer walls again, right? I need some obsidian, I need some endstone, and I just need to make the outer walls look the way that they're supposed to look. Right? So, and today I'm working on the outer walls a little bit. Right, not a lot to ask for. So, regardless, it's I watched 10 episodes of Picard. They're free for you to look at right now on Patreon. I think 1 or 2 of them is recorded on a mic because I was moving around, and then I was trying to use like the mic that was in my laptop is what I was using. So, anyway, and the Red Letter Media video just came out where they took Plinkett out of retirement so they could do kind of an obligatory. Let me just see here. An obligatory takedown of it with the Mr. Plinkett character. I like how they create these narratives. They create these narratives of Rich Evans as put upon. Oh, I can't believe I have to do this, you guys. Character and Mike is this insistent executive guy who's always like, well, come on, guys, we got to do the thing. I think this is super important. Do you guys not want to do the thing? And then he'll drink because his character's an alcoholic. I really like that. And it's so natural to these guys. It's easy to forget that these guys are writers and actors and probably editors. I think they've all done. I recall seeing their names at one time or another on the editing wheel for Best of the Worst. They're talented guys who are doing it themselves. And, do I have enough space for all the buckets? Fuck you. Fuck you, buckets. Alright. Now, there you go. I always do that. I always try to be like, yes! And then with the chest inventory open, I try to collect all the buckets or the blocks or whatever it is that I'm doing. Alright. Let's go and get some fucking lava. So I like the story that they created for Picard, which they didn't know. They just kind of loosely played out, but kept their options open as Picard went out because they didn't know how goddamn bad Picard would be. I mean, it's real bad. Again, it wasn't disappointing. I mean, it was disappointing. It wasn't, I didn't expect this. It wasn't like, okay, it's trying, but it failed. I think from what I have seen of Discovery tries and fails. I hate this so much. I always end up like eating a food or throwing a torch in here. I just want to get some goddamn lava, you guys. That's all I want. Without, I don't know if the oceans are here with the intent that I will try to harvest all of their content, all of their source blocks for my own nefarious purposes. But harvesting all of their source blocks for my nefarious purposes tedious. It's inexact. It's inexact is what it is. It's messy. It's messy. So anyway, again, it's objectively bad, and there's a lot that I could whinge about with, how do I put this? Other people who are fans of Star Trek and who enjoy different things, but who would go full human caterpillar if the ass in front of them had Star Trek written on it. There we go. That's what it is. That's the respectful way I want to refer to those people. And they're just so disrespectful to people that disagree with them. And you're like, oh, you don't like it because it's not like TNG. I'm like, fucking... I mean, yeah, I don't like it because it's not like TNG. Because TNG had qualities about it which had merit. And guys, I am rough on TNG. If I was married to TNG, a listener of The Beige and the Bold would have called the cops on us by now. They would have gone to TNG and said, honey, you need to leave. Honey, you can stay with us until The Beige and the Bold is over. I'm not kind to TNG, but I like it. I get it. And whenever it's flawed because it's doing something. And I think maybe like I have enough pettiness to kind of take one day to sit down and pull all of those things out of my craw with some kind of dental appliance that's part of this extended metaphor. But that's not today. Today I'm going to get warmed up on talking about Star Trek Picard. I'm not going to talk about I'm going to get warmed up on Star Trek Picard. I'm going to get like the wine, and I'm going to find something to watch on Netflix. Something that's like exciting but not complicated and a little sexy at times. Where like you can look at your partner and be like, oh, what a dick, I hate that guy. And they can be like, yes, it's unobjectionable, right? But you have like these real shallow points that you can agree on. And then you drink the wine, and you get a little close, and you do a little warm up stuff, little over the shirt, mouth and hand action before you get to the main event. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like for the things that I would like to do to Picard, I'm not even going to get the lube out. Like this is just the basic introductory Picard stuff. And the thing is that like my prescription for everyone who is like, what's up with Picard? My prescription would be, it's just bad. It's not even... It is, of course, not Star Trek good. It is not even trying to be Star Trek good. It's not even effectively going through the motions of Star Trek. Like, we get half a Picard speech apropos of nothing. It is one 10-episode story, so it's flabby as shit. It completely loses one of its main characters in its climax. Bafflingly illogical. It's got a mystery that means nothing when it's revealed. It's not cleverly unfolded. There aren't little clues that you unfurl later. It's objectively bad as a TV show. Some people say, oh, it's fun sci-fi. No, it's just not good Star Trek. It's not good anything. And it's not a good spending of $10. And again, it's not like it pissed in my Cheerios or anything. It's not like it turned to me and goes, Deep Space Nine was actually... I mean, it kind of did, in that it was an entire series based around Jean-Luc Picard that then said everything you know about Jean-Luc Picard was stupid and wrong. Actually, he's an egomaniac, and he's super prickly, and he's wrapped up in this image of himself as like this big guy. So people are like, well, is it good? I gotta say, no, it's bad. It's bad as a Star Trek. It's bad as a show about Jean-Luc Picard, if you're invested in that character. It's just bad as a TV show, which is startling. So I would say that, if you're troubled about Star Trek these days, I would just say stop watching Star Trek. Which is so weird. Like, the more I watch Star Trek these days, the less I want to share it, the less I want to talk to people about it. TNG's creaking a lot. Derek and I are about to do Deep Space Nine. I've never been particularly fond of Voyager and Enterprise. Voyager has good episodes. I've seen very little of Enterprise. Very little of it's good. Shuttlepod 1 was an episode I enjoyed. And not A Night in Sickbay. The one where they go to Risa is good. Basically just for Phlox, who is like the best part of that series. So, like, I don't have a lot of fondness for any of the stuff that existed. I've always been pretty critical of TNG. Not TNG. I've always been pretty critical of modern Star Trek simply because it just wasn't as good. It wasn't as nuanced. And, it generally didn't build a climax that earned the payoff that it got. And maybe, the more I talk with Derek, maybe that is a soft judgment. Maybe the notion that, you guys went through all these hoops, and now you've adequately, now that you've earned your payoff, maybe that is a soft judgment. I say language of television. Well, they did a thing, and we understand they can't do this, so they got to do that. Or these are the rules now. And that's very much what I call the scissors values, where I'm like, okay, they've explained this the perfect amount. If they explained it more, they would accuse me of being stupid. If they explain it less, then they're not leading us anywhere. If we say, well, they established our rules very vaguely, well, that's just language of television. They established our rules very explicitly, then, they're getting too far into the nitty gritty. They're establishing the universe, they're establishing the character or something. Like, those are like a Scylla and Charybdis of storytelling that I think vary a lot according to your listener. And if you were to say, well, there's social mores that have changed, and therefore, anything that's popular now that you're 30, you're not the demo anymore. So these things aren't going to appeal to you. And that's the crazy thing. That is the absolute lunacy. That is the result of Star Trek The Next Generation, of The Beige and the Bold, watching it with Derek, is that the more I look at Star Trek, I'm like, oh shit. Star Trek isn't for me. But it's like in a good way. Like, you're smiling when you say it, because Star Trek says, hey, look, you can understand what other people say, and you don't have to accuse them of being a human centipede that will gladly volunteer for the procedure if they have, empty symbolism tattooed upon the buttocks of the person in front of them. You can become that kind of a person, and you can like science, and you can understand perspectives without giving up your own sense of right and wrong. And doing the right thing sometimes requires sacrifice, often requires sacrifice. And, there are these science fiction concepts that are out there, and these questions you should ask, and these cool science fiction concepts and ideas, and different ways of looking at things, and these principles and these values and conflicts, and, it's all out there, and you can think about it. And, like, that's not useful to me. That's not for me. Because I know all that stuff already. I think it's so weird. Being a Star Trek fan is like being an adult with a high school degree and going to junior high and saying, what's all this kid shit? I already know all this shit. And then, like, going in there and filling out other people's tests and going, oh god, this is such basic stuff. Like, don't get me wrong. If I was looking, okay, this is possibly relevant to it. Someone put up like a quiz, like it was like one of those, oh, do you remember things? But it was like a times tables test, where it's just like random number over another random number with a little X, and then like the line underneath it to like you're supposed to multiply. And I'm like, oh man, I guess I'd do one of those, and it would be like relaxing, because it's like Minecraft, where Minecraft isn't that taxing. But you like the organizational structure. You like the very simple problem solving. It's a solvable problem. So yeah, I can watch TNG because it's like that. I can watch Star Trek because it's like that, and I kind of know it's comfortable and it's fun. It's engaging, if not edifying anymore. But I think Star Trek should be edifying. I don't know how much of the basics of science fiction and humanities and culture and moral quandaries and all the things that Star Trek has to teach us that are new that Star Trek needs to teach us. At the risk of sounding completely rambling, I think it's for people who are new. I think it's for a broad audience. I think it is to say, hey, look, these ideas seem good. Don't they seem good? And they give us characters that we agree with. And it's like, and they explain to us and they show us why these ideas seem good. And Star Trek goes, well, actually, they could also be bad. And they give us that, kind of the end result, the logical conclusion, the issues with the implementation of these ideas. And if you've already seen it before, it might be repetitive. And you're like, well, this is just like episode, the other one where they all got drunk on the polywater and they talked about themselves. And it's like, do you need to just remake? Do you need to say, here's Star Trek? We're just going to remake it, basically. We're gonna have a different crew and a different ship and a slightly different premise. But we're going to go over these same moral lessons. We're going to update them with less creepy shit towards women and maybe more minorities. It's the same lessons, it's the same ideas. We're just going to polish it up. And we're gonna tighten up the science, maybe. With the new things we know. We're going to ask a few new questions and a few new moral quandaries. Do something like The Game, where, okay, all right, this isn't about video games being addictive or about drugs necessarily. It's about invasive technology in our lives and how that information is used to manipulate us, but then also not to manipulate us in the way that it is. With targeted advertisements and things like that, where it can target our psychological weak points. You're like, you could just regurgitate that forever. And you wouldn't need to watch the remake for that. Why would you? Because if you would, if they were gonna say remake TNG and ask us the core questions that Star Trek has asked us before, then they would have to spend time making it somehow interesting for me. I don't think they need to do that. I think they just need to make a good show. I'd be like, oh, this is kind of like a better version of the episode, 217. Or they can make it completely original and ask us a bunch of new questions we hadn't considered before. Which is hard to do. I mean, when you look at Star Trek, okay, at least 28 seasons of this stuff. I guess 31 seasons now, give or take, not counting the animated series. Sorry. It's very hard to say something new. I mean, it's not like the hardest season that exists to make. It's not like the one of those 31 seasons that came from Star Trek Picard is going to cut off a lot of avenues for us to do a lot of deep fucking questions. But in general, 31 seasons of broad science fiction for the masses, which is good. You're going to try to do something it hasn't done before. Star Trek is basically the Simpsons of... I was going to say Star Trek's. Star Trek is the Simpsons of South Parks. I don't know. I'm just saying that at some point, there isn't much to add to the canon. If there is, I think you should do that. And I think it'd blow me away. And if it's entirely possible that I'm just really stupid and I'm looking for a pattern that I'm familiar with in Picard and I'm not seeing all the really smart questions Picard is asking. I don't think that's the case. I don't have a creeping suspicion of that anywhere. I'd be fucking floored if some goddamn English major could pull 10 fucking cogent life lessons out of Star Trek Picard. 10 original moral life lessons. So what I'm saying is that Star Trek may not be for me. And when you make new Star Trek, it's a tall order for you to make a new Star Trek that does something Star Trek hasn't done before. And if you're going to make reboot Star Trek, it also wouldn't be for me. That would be possibly even harder. And so we're just stuck with doing more things with the execrable and completely irrelevant only for shitheads, not like normal people. Real Star Trek's for normal people. Star Trek for shitheads, Star Trek, that talks about the Star Trek universe, which no one gives a shit about. I mean, I could just hold up index cards with procedurally generated proper nouns on them and tell you the gripping story of the index card cinematic universe, and it wouldn't fucking matter. Nothing matters inside of fictional narratives except insofar as it tells us something real about ourselves, which admittedly basic character work can do. But regardless, like, the weird thing is that even if Star Trek was good, it probably wouldn't be for me. Is my core takeaway. But I'm going to wrap this up. It's been 20 goddamn minutes. I'm going to work on the script. I'm going to keep working on it. Okay? You do whatever my sign off is, okay?